femininity for women is not a weakness. It's just a different type of power than being really masculine. The bigger my numbers were, my revenue, my team, the more recognized I got. But my dating life was the complete opposite.
Hannah Chan, the self-made entrepreneur who went from buying near-expired groceries to hitting her first million at 26. Now, she's the founder and CEO, helping women build wealth through high-ticket coaching, content mastery, and unshakable personal branding.
I used to have this belief was all men are trash, all men cheat. I'm an incredible, hot, successful boss babe, and it's the man's fault that he's intimidated by me. But then what I realized was that if I want a masculine man, I have to tap into my feminine.
Did you just have like an on and off switch now?
Yeah, so this is where it starts to get a bit like too woo-woo or whatever.
Can a woman be the breadwinner and still be feminine? Like stay in her feminine, so to speak.
Ooh.
All right, so man, it's been a couple of years since I've seen you.
Yeah.
You're very different in like a good way, definitely not a bad way. I'm assuming you're still just as powerful as you used to be, but you also seem very feminine now. Not that you weren't before, but definitely more. So I guess the first question is like, when did you realize like you could kind of do both? Or maybe like, did you come to that realization or did something happen or?
Yeah, so I'll admit when I first started business, I was in very masculine business minds, and it fed into this loophole of the more external success I got, like the bigger my numbers were, my revenue, my team, the more recognized I got. So I was trained with that belief where it made me really masculine, right? Because it was a sense of pride. Like, oh, I'm a woman. I can hit these big numbers, the same as men. But my dating life was the complete opposite. So one of my mentors at the time, he was Ben McClellan, and he introduced me to this idea called extreme ownership. It was this book. And
Jocko Willink, right?
Exactly. That book taught me if something doesn't go right, it's always your fault somehow. So I used to have this belief was all men are trash, all men cheat. I'm an incredible, hot, successful boss babe, and it's the man's fault that he's intimidated by me. But then when I looked into it more, what I realized was that if I want a masculine man, I have to tap into my feminine. So that's when I started reading books about dating, about how to attract better men, about relationships. And the common theme that I found was that femininity for women is not a weakness. It's just a different type of power than being really masculine.
Yeah, I mean, I find, they'll probably kill me for saying this, but like my sisters in my family, like I feel like they're very masculine energy, and it's great from the standpoint of like, I feel like they kind of run the show. But I feel like also, you know, they're like, I feel like they kind of wearing the pants, so to speak. And so it's fine, like in the sense, like I feel like they always get taken care of, but there's definitely things I probably wouldn't want in my relationship where like they just like, you know, they kind of run the show, and it's like, I don't think that will work for me. Was there like a moment or a phase like when you wanted to shift? Was there something specific that happened?
There wasn't. Yes. Okay. So I remember on my, I think 24th birthday, I was so busy working that the only thing I did for my birthday was let a guy I met from Tinder take me out to dinner. And you know, like people in our industry on Facebook, right? Yeah. Everyone's like, happy birthday. What did you do? Like, what did you do for your birthday? I had no friends because I was always working, right? I had no plans because I had no friends and I was working. So I just told everyone, oh yeah, I forgot it was my birthday because I was busy working on my business. But in reality, I was too embarrassed to say that the only thing I did was let this guy take me out on a date. And the date was horrific. Like, it was one of those where, you know, within the first 5 minutes, the conversation doesn't flow.
Yeah, you're just like, why? I wish you could get out.
Yeah, like, oh, I have to have dinner with this person and ask about their life.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking back and I'm thinking the reason why it was so bad was because I showed up very guarded, very masculine, very like scared that the other person would judge me. Yeah. So even though I can show up like super confidently on sales calls, on dates, I was completely different. Like very unapproachable energy that pushed the right guys away.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think it's tough because like running a business is, it's pretty like you got to be very aggressive, very decisive. And then when you're trying to be feminine, it's the opposite. So like, are you able to turn on and off? Because I feel like if you're running a business, like it's kind of like you can't be super submissive, but then like the opposite is, right?
Yeah.
So do you just have like an on and off switch now?
Yeah. So this is where it starts to get a bit like, some people might think it's too woo-woo or whatever.
Yeah.
But for me to get to this point, I had to first do a lot of identity work on what being feminine even meant. Because if you were saying this to me like 5 years ago, I would have said, oh, that's so cringe. What do you mean femininity? I don't want to be submissive. I'm not weak. I'm not a ditz. Right. And that's what a lot of, I guess, women and even some men think it's what femininity means. So if subconsciously you think that's what it means and your association is very negative, you're going to try to be the opposite. But one thing I like, when I had to start undoing a lot of that, it made me realize there's a lot of power to tapping into your feminine. Like, it doesn't mean you're weak. It just means that you have enough certainty in yourself to allow a man to lead, and that allows you to relax even more. So if anything, it's almost like mutually beneficial, you know?
Yeah, I think from my standpoint, obviously the guy side, I think what happens is men are immature, we're growing, we make mistakes, the girls get hurt, because they get hurt, they get jaded. Because they get jaded, when they meet a new guy, it's like a turn off because the guy's like, yo, like you're way too jaded. And then it's like around and around we go. So I think as a woman, it's like, that's the hard part, is like learning, but like not getting jaded. Because like there's some girls on me, I'm like, yeah, there's like, I'm not like going to date your 5 ex-boyfriends. But there's some girls who like, they kind of keep it in context and they've learned, but like they're not too over the top, if that makes sense. Like if some girls like, my sister sometimes like, she's like, hey, can you clean that up? I'm like, sure. And like, we're talking and then she was like, can you do it now? And I'm like, that kind of energy, it's like, that's not for me. But in your defense, like, I think like the guys, usually we cause the issues because like, I think a lot of times we're maturing, we're not making good decisions. We do stuff that like hurts the girls and the girls get jaded and then it's like around and around we go. So like I like that you take personal responsibility though. I mean, I do like that a lot. I think that's good, but to your benefit, guys suck sometimes. And like as a guy, yeah. I like to think of myself as a good guy. So it's like, I made mistakes. So I think that definitely plays a part in it. What do you believe about feminine energy in business, like that you think most women get wrong?
I think a lot of women think that feminine energy in business is all about just purely going with the flow, not tracking your metrics, showing up only when you feel like it, and then using like, oh, it's not aligned with me as an excuse to not do uncomfortable things.
Yeah, the metrics is 100% accurate. Like it drives me nuts because, they might be doing a tirade and then I'm like, okay, but like, what are your numbers? And then it's like, okay, but that's what your numbers say. Like all that stuff you just said doesn't mean anything. So I actually like the fact you pick up on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think to add to that, feminine energy is not just like, oh, you only work or show up when you feel like it. And then you use like femininity as an excuse to never do anything uncomfortable. It's more like having the discernment to like really tap into your body and be like, okay, this week of the month, I can go harder. So I will take advantage of that and hustle a bit more. Because there are times where I'm working till like midnight, let's say to like write a sales letter or launch something. And then other times where I just don't.
Yeah. No, I mean, my memory from you before, I think it's been a couple of years, is like, it's just very different than I see you now. It's not bad. It's just like you definitely seem like way more softer and feminine, which I'm sure that's what you're going for. So it's good. But yeah, I mean, I think at the time, it's just, that's the hard thing is like, it's like, it is two different things, but like being, men are like super masculine in business, but that's like a very masculine energy. So like trying to shift that, I think could be tough for sure. I mean, because as a guy, it's like you're just doing the same thing. As a girl, it's like completely opposite. So that's probably like where you're getting stuck probably in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. And to add to that as well, being like, or leading with your feminine in business is not about like being a pushover on sales calls or like when someone you're on a sales call with tries to like take over the frame. It's not like you just back off and let them. Like you still have the ability to be ruthless, but it's like it's controlled and you only bring it out when it's necessary. So like also one example is the way I used to speak to my clients. when I was really, really in my masculine energy, I just assumed that all clients needed the really, like, you know, when clients don't do the work, I assumed that they needed like a really harsh conversation where I'm like talking down at them and giving them like tough love. But when you're leading or when you're more tapped into your feminine, you can sense like which clients they need more verbal encouragement of like, you can do it, you got this, versus the clients that need more like, you're being silly right now, you just have to show up.
That's a good point. Moving more into like business side a little bit, you know, walk people through your business journey. Like how did you start? And then what's the current model behind your empire?
Yeah. So how I started was, the mastermind that I was in that really helped me scale was traffic and funnels.
Yeah.
So I was doing a very typical book a call sales funnel, like both organic and paid advertising. Book a call, sales team would close them on like a 10K package. It'd be a 90-day mentorship. Over time, as I got through my, femininity journey, I realized that I stopped associating my self-worth with big revenue numbers. And that was also the same time I started posting TikToks about my business journey. So over time, it evolved to a combination of different offers that I just launched. So some of it, now I'm doing low ticket. So it's a low ticket front end with a high ticket back end. So essentially what that means is that we break even on the front end because, you know, the ad spend cancels out the AOV.
Of course.
So the high ticket is just all profit or mostly profit, right?
Have you been able to figure that out where you actually get enough upsells so you do make profit? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is hard. Like most for the listeners, like it's pretty hard.
Yeah. So we have a low ticket front end. It's like a $27 to $67 5-day challenge with 3 order bumps, 2 upsells.
Yeah. How'd you come up with that model? Like, did you see an idea somewhere? How'd you come up with that?
Yeah. So it was through Alan Soltanick's.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
His business model was yeah. So on top of that, because I've built such a strong brand, and I saw Scott Olford say this the other day, he was like, when you have a strong personal brand, you can literally sell whatever you want because your audience is bought into you.
Right.
So as I saw the industry shift, I know we're like going slightly off topic with your question, but as I saw the industry shift, I saw it got more and more competitive, right? Everyone is posting testimonials. Everyone's throwing around big numbers. Everyone's got their ads dialed in. Instead of trying to compete with that angle, I went another way and I started trying to stand out through my values and lifestyle and beliefs. So I feel like we're now on like that stage 5 level of sophistication where like, yeah, you can have a really solid marketing mechanism, but the real way to stand out is just connecting with your audience through shared identity and shared values. And that's why even though my offer isn't directly related to dating, I post about that.
Do you find like, obviously the women who resonate with your dating advice, like that helps bring them into your offer?
Exactly.
That's interesting. Like, what made you settle on the dating aspect? Is that like the main aspect you settle on and like what you post about?
I actually don't post that much about dating, but my TikTok blew up because I was posting about dating. Yeah. And of course, because of my own journey with like tapping into my femininity, that was just a very natural byproduct of that.
Yeah. It's crazy how certain topics get so polarizing. Like people go absolutely ham sandwich. Right?
Exactly. And dating is one of them. But at one point I did post stuff that like wasn't fully aligned with me just for the sake of going viral. So I had to like dial that back in. Yeah. But what I found like in business now is that because I have such a strong brand and community, I can launch whatever offers I feel like my audience would like and it would sell.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think like you can, I agree. Like you need to post viral content, but you want to stay on brand. So I think the big thing is like people figure out what is on brand for you and then post it. So like I had a post the other day. It was like, I don't remember the context, but I basically just said like most guys are not, you know, over 6 foot, which they can't control, but I was just being kind of a smart ass. But they're not over 6 foot. They don't make $1 million a year. They're not under 10% body fat. And it's like, but I might. Yeah, like I feel like I hit those benchmarks and I'm like talking about it. And so it's controversial, but it's like on brand for me. So that sounds like what you did with the relationship aspect, right?
Exactly.
You obviously help women like with high ticket offers. What's the number one sales mistake you see? I'm sure you see a lot.
With women that are trying to sell high ticket, they are trying to sell what they're interested in, not what the audience actually wants. So the offer ends up not resonating. So I had this one client, she is super into self-love. So she wanted to talk about self-love and human design because it was an interest to her. But what I told her was like, you can't just sell self-love. Like, you're not really solving a specific problem. So we have to tie in self-love with something that women actually want.
Yeah.
And human design.
Yeah, I see that all the time. Like, I'm just like, look, they got to help. It's got to help them make or save money. It's got to help them get in better shape, or it's got to help their relationships. I'm like, there's got to be some tangible result. And sometimes the way they explain it is pretty trash. And so, like, that's not what it sounds like. Is like you help refine their offer.
Yeah. But then another one is also just being on this ethical high horse of like, I don't want to handle objections because I don't want them to feel bad. Or like, I don't want to come across as pushy.
Yeah. That must be women, right? Yeah. I'm trying to picture a guy saying that. I just would be pretty harsh on him. So, like, I guess going into the next question, you know, women, let's just say, like, it's not a bad thing. Like, women are more emotional. So, like, how do you help those women maybe move from, like, scarcity into, like, you know, I can make a lot of money? Do you have any issues with that where the women are like, oh, I don't know, like, I don't want to charge a lot and stuff like that?
Yeah. So one thing I found, because, you know, I used to coach men too, was that the women would always be really shy about their goals of how much money they want to make.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, we have you have this identity document and you read it and stuff like that. But what I tell women is to reframe it as like, the money isn't just you taking money from someone and leaving them worse off. The value that you give, it impacts their life way more than the money that you're getting from them. So the ROI is essentially there. So when they look at it that way, like, oh, my coaching is worth way more than $5,000 because it helps them like become fertile. Like, let's say a fertility coach, they reframe it that way, and then they have less shame around asking for more money.
Interesting. Yeah, because I feel half the game with like any women clients I get is just like, it's usually like their mindset. And it's that fact, like, them being anxious sometimes is what makes them good, but then it's also their detriment. Like they're so anxious, they're always checking on stuff, but then they're also so anxious that like they freak out. I'm like, dude, it's just like, it's fine. Just like do this, do that. And that's what it sounds like. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. But then sometimes the other thing I do is literally just give the client what they want. So it's like, let's say there's no way they can charge $5,000 off the bat. I'm like, okay, well then just work up to it. Just start with 1,500 and then slowly work up to it. And sometimes I feel like when you just give the client what they want, or like almost tell them what they want to hear to a degree, right? To a degree, it helps them build that confidence instead of just throwing them in the deep end.
Yeah, versus just like starting straight at 5,000. What advice would you give? And I mean, it's going to vary obviously, but if a female entrepreneur is at 10K a month, they want to get 100,000 a month, like what advice would you give them?
You just need more lead flow. Yeah. So you just have to double the volume of your outputs. And sometimes it might be the really unattractive things like sending more cold DMs, following up with prospects, just posting content more. But then beyond a certain point, I'd say to invest in learning about company culture and team as much as you invest in like copywriting and sales. Because you know, when you start to scale in the beginning, you like invest so much in learning how to write copy, how to do sales calls. But then as you build a team, a lot of people like to blame bad team members instead of look at the leadership. So one thing that I learned was that if you want a really, really solid A team, it's almost a skill. You have to learn how to lead. You have to learn how to get people really bought into your company values and mission so that they perform like A players. Yeah.
I mean, your business is only as good as your team. And if your team sucks and you're the one who hired them and you're the one who trained them and you're the one who made the SOPs, like you're the problem. I think for me, I don't know how it was for you, but I just think I had bad advice in the past. Someone said, you know, your standards are too high. right? They're like, Tanner, you're too crazy. Like you just expect too much. But that was actually terrible advice, because the irony is the more you lower your standards, the worse the team gets.
Exactly.
So like having high standards is not bad. You just have to be, if you have high standards, you have to be willing to like go through a lot of volume. Right. And it's kind of like, you can even take that into dating. It's like, you can have high standards, but you just have to know like, okay, high standards equate like lots of volume. You can't have like high standards and then not a lot of volume, at least like when you're building the team. Okay. So getting more into mindset, what were some of your biggest money blocks early on? Like, how'd you handle it?
I had a lot of shame around money, because growing up, my parents were pretty frugal. So when it came to spending money, or even feeling like I was worthy of making more money, I felt like, oh, it's greedy if I do that. I feel like I'm taking from someone and leaving them worse off. I feel like if I'm very open about the fact that I want to make more, other people are going to judge me and think that I'm just like, all I care about is money.
Because your parents were frugal. That's mostly where I came from. Yeah, that's interesting. For me, my dad was a teacher. My mom stayed at home. I wanted to be rich because they were frugal. Like, I was like, yo, this sucks. I just remember thinking, like, dude, this, like, why can't we get this? Oh, because we're on a budget.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see like how people can go through similar experiences, but like they get a different outlook on it.
So you know what it is? I'm just thinking about this. When you watch movies, a lot of the time, the rich people are portrayed as bad and corrupt and evil.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So if we watch those movies growing up, like the poor person's positioned as like some hero. Yeah. If we watch those movies growing up, we like subconsciously tell ourselves, oh, if I become rich, I'll also be corrupt and evil and just taking from others. So I feel like subconsciously, if we associate that like negative thing with being rich, we tend to just sabotage.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, I think maybe, and that's probably where I think I'm weird. I probably had those same movies, but I was just like, yeah, fuck it. Being rich is still better. Like, I'll just be a piece of shit. What are 2 or 3 things you do on a daily basis, if anything, right, to keep kind of let's say your frequency aligned with success?
My morning routine is so dialed in.
Oh, yeah.
That if I don't do it, I feel like it throws me off. So this is also like the thing that helps me tap more into my feminine energy. Okay, is I don't know about you, but I have really specific things for places and SOPs for my life. So when I wake up, I'll always brush my teeth while I make a tea, and then I'll have my tea while I'm doing my skincare at my specific skincare desk, and it's like really aesthetic and really cute. And then while I'm doing that, I'll also be watching something on my iPad, like whether it's like listening to a podcast or keeping up with certain crypto news or things like that.
Oh, I thought you were about to say the Kardashians. I was like, yeah,
No.
say. I was like, keeping up with the Kardashians, perfect.
No, so I do this thing where I try to double up on time. Yeah. So it's like if I'm getting ready in the morning, like doing my skincare, my makeup, I'm at my cute pink like BE desk, and I'm listening to a podcast or like an audiobook. That's like I'm learning something and I'm doing something that makes me feel good.
Yeah. Like why did that become your morning routine? Like, of all things you could do, like why that? Or how did you even come up with it?
I didn't, it wasn't like a specific system that I came up with it. It's just like, I'm a bit OCD when it comes to like my makeup, my skincare. So I always have to do it. I don't know if it's a girl thing or like if you rest.
No, I mean, I'm a little bit like, it's weird. Like as I'm getting older, like I'm pretty like into the anti-aging stuff. And like, I'm like, I inject like a million peptides and stuff. I don't know. I get it. Like I get it. It's just, you get in the habit too, and then you don't do it. So I totally get it. I mean, my morning routine is, I usually do that after. Like my morning routine is more like, I'll read what I call my document, and then I usually go straight to the gym. But yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I think having routines is good. It makes it so you don't have to think quite as much or spend the energy on it. So I think there's a lot of benefit to it. How do you handle self-doubt? I don't know if you get it anymore. Do you still get it? And if it creeps in, like, is there certain things you do?
I don't think I get it that much anymore, because I think I've built the level of self-awareness where as soon as it starts to creep in, I can check myself and look at it from like a third person's perspective and reframe it. So I don't think I get it that much anymore. But like you said, you read a document. I have something like that in the morning as well that I read. And it has not only does it have like, pictures of what I want in life, it also has, I guess, affirmations or beliefs on how I need to think in order to reach my goals. And one thing that I'm really big on is just not having a victim mindset, right? And also in those moments where like doubt starts to creep in, you can identify that and then replace it with a more empowering thought.
Yeah, I might be speaking out of turn here. I'm not sure, but I feel that's less common for women. Like, I don't find I meet women very often that they take like a lot of accountability. Now, I'm not saying it's their fault. Maybe the guy's a piece of shit, but it's interesting to me that you seem to be very much like, yeah, like it's my fault, like which I think is not very common, or maybe I just don't see it. Right?
I think men and women like equally tend to not take accountability that much, but the way I've always seen it, right? And I guess that's the book that changed my life, was like extreme ownership.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I really, even one of my company cultures is ownership. Yeah. Like when something goes wrong, you have to reflect. But the way I see it is like, if you don't reflect on how you can improve, then you're literally just going to stay the same.
I agree. I mean, I just don't, it's like not like I'm talking to a million girls or something, but I think it's rare. I mean, because I just, I probably because I spend all day like feeling like I talk to people. It's like you are where you are because of you, and they don't see it that way. So I think it's refreshing. I think it's the right way to look at things, because even if it's not your fault, that keeps control kind of in your court versus like blaming. Yeah, and then you kind of feel hopeless. Is there anything about success that you believed in the past that you reject now? You're like, yeah, it's not true, but in the past you were like, oh yeah, I 100% agree with that.
I think a lot of people associate success with what looks good on paper, like big revenue numbers. You're doing like, say $1 million a month. But the way I see success now, it's having a business that's really aligned with your lifestyle.
I agree. It's funny because I've done up to 2 million a month, and then everything in between, 100 people, no people. Like for me, like end of the day, it just comes down to profit. Like it comes down to profit, and it comes down to like how much you're putting in for what you're getting out. Because like as you get bigger, you might be going from like 60% profit to 30%. You're doing more revenue, but your profit's basically the same. It's like you're just doing more work for nothing.
Yeah.
And like I think you can lose sight of that because, especially as like a male, you're so, yeah, I did this much revenue, but it's like it doesn't fucking matter really. And I was just talking to Dan Henry before this, and like he was like, yeah, dude, I just wanted to like feed my lifestyle. He's like, I don't like want to have a big company. Exactly. And I think that's good to know. And I think the longer I've been in business too, it's just learning about more leverage. Like you can make a lot of money if you have more leverage. So like, I've been in the consulting space for a while. It's pretty red ocean. Like, that it's pretty competitive. So when I bring in, I'll get some clients who become portfolios, and like their offers will get like 15, 20x return on ads. Cause it's like unique offer. So like one is, college admission into Ivy League schools. And then there's another one that is, day trading with like an app. And it's like people, they're just lazy. They just want like click and play. And it's just crazy to me how that will make a big difference. So yeah, going back to what you said, I agree. It's like, if you're just doing it to pump numbers, there's some people who do that, but I think it's too much. Like, I think like some people are 100-0. I'm like 90-10. Like I'm really driven, but there's that 10% of me that's like, I need to enjoy life a little bit. I need to do that. 100-0, I think is a little much.
Yeah. I look at the success as like the ROI on the time and the stress that you're putting in.
Oh yeah.
So, it's like, as you start to scale, obviously ROAS goes down. Yeah. And like, yeah, you can maybe squeeze out like 20% more profit. But if it takes like 60% more effort, for me, I wouldn't pursue that.
Yeah. No, I went through that because I remember there came a point, I was doing 30% margin at 2 million a month. So I was taking home quite a bit, but still it's like I have to make $300,000 more to make 100 more profit. And I was like, that's crazy. And then on top of that, you were pushing, like you said, sometimes you'd be pushing 100% harder for 10% more in profit. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. There's like a lot of diminishing returns. Okay, so moving back into like relationships, polarity, power dynamics, you spoke about the feminine, masculine polarity. So like, what's the biggest misunderstanding, women have about, being in their feminine that you think?
They think it means that you're lower than men, or they think it means that you're sacrificing your intelligence to just be a ditz and have no voice and have no like say in the relationship. And they think that it only benefits men. But I don't see it that way at all. And I think a lot of women who like they've done work around it and they've actually studied it, what they'll find is that it's a lot more fulfilling to be in your feminine energy. Because, for example, if you give a man the space to lead, the space to almost like make some decisions for you while making you feel considered, you can essentially turn your brain off.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of women, they come from like a really hurt place. So they look at that and they think like, oh, I'm just as smart or as capable as him. I should like, say, go 50-50 with him and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it takes a strong man. My experience has been, if you're immature, you do stupid shit that hurts girls, and then you get to a point where like, I don't know, you could say like you're really powerful. You're in a position where you can kind of push girls around, but like having the restraint not to, if that makes sense. I think that's where a guy needs to get to. So the girl like trusts his lead, but she trusts his lead because he doesn't do stupid shit. That's tough, because I think some guys get in that position and then they're kind of like tempted to, because like, well, she'll do whatever I say. And then they kind of like are pushing stuff that they shouldn't be pushing. That's at least how I see it. And that's been, I think that's like the maturity arc I'm on, is I've started to see like, it's kind of, I don't know. It's like the stronger you are, I feel like the more restraint you have to have, because it's like you can literally do almost anything or push people around to get your way. So I think, I just see it a little bit like more clearly. I think from a woman's side, I think that's the hard thing, is like women, I feel they want to let the guy lead, but like some guys are pieces of shit. And so then the girls are like, when a guy does something wrong, they don't feel safe and then they try to lead. So anyways, like we all need to like get along, I guess, but that's a topic for another day. So, one question I did want to ask you is, can a woman be the breadwinner and still be feminine? Like stay in her feminine, so to speak.
Ooh. In theory it's possible, but I think a woman who's the breadwinner will never be truly as feminine or happy as a woman who's being provided for.
Like, okay, so when you say provided, 100-0, 50-50, 80-20, does it matter? I don't know.
Yeah, so that's a good question, because providership is not about the literal financial like wealth that the money has. It's about the instinct and the value. So like, let's say a man, he wants to provide and he has the mindset, but he just literally cannot pay all of the bills. That to most women is way more attractive than a man who, he makes millions and he pays the bills, but he does it out of resentfulness because he thinks it's what he has to do.
Yeah.
So I think for a lot of women, it's like they can feel the difference between a man who's providing because it's like in his value too, versus a man who's doing it out of like obligation and he resents it.
Okay, yeah, so that's a great point. Something I've noticed in myself, so maybe this is a question for me, is like I want to provide, but I also don't want to feel like an ATM. And so I'm not even sure how to handle that, because it's like I don't necessarily need my girl to pay for anything. I don't want her to feel like she has to, but at the same time, it's like if it's like 100-0, sometimes I feel like an ATM, and I like there's probably some past bullshit or something like that. But like, how do you handle situations like that?
So I've spoken to a lot of men about it, and I think what it comes down to is like, what experiences did you have in the past that made you think that way? Like maybe you have been used in the past, so you have these red flags going off.
Yeah.
And then the second that I've spoken to men, they always say, I want to see reciprocation from women, but it's the small things that show effort and appreciation. So it's like, let's say a man is providing like 99% of things, and once in a while the girl buys him like a sweet gift or like the coffee. Then for most men, at least the ones that I've spoken to, they're like, that's enough to hit the spot of like, okay, I'm not being 100% used.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, I might be a psycho and an alien, but like I think for me, what has been tough, like I don't want to say tough, but some women will want to be like, I want to stay home and cook and clean and all that, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think as being like a wealthy male, I go like I can just pay for that, so I don't just see it as valuable. What you just described, like them chipping in like for a little thing, I think that means more to me, because it's like I feel like they understand the value of money versus like it's 100-0, where I feel like they lose the value of money, where it's like, okay, like, do you know how hard I had to work to make, $100 grand? It's like, oh, it's just $100 grand. It's like, yeah, like that's a lot of work. It's like, is that, I don't know, have you had any conversations that like abnormal thinking?
Yeah, so to give you an example, one of my exes, he was in a similar position where he was like, yeah, I want to provide, but also like only to a degree. And then it turns out that his dad would literally use him for money and say like, hey son, can you pay me like $5,000 this month? Right. So he was being used as an ATM in the literal sense. And so it showed up a bit in our relationship. Like he'd say to me, oh, Eve, I would never give you an allowance. That's so cringe. And things like that, because his biggest fear was like, if my family member uses me for money, I don't want my woman to use me for money too. And so for a lot of men like that, I think they think the solution is like, I will never give that level of providership. But the real solution should be to like obviously work on the past and also just develop that discernment of like, what woman is just trying to use me.
I hear what you're saying, but I guess there's just so many different, like I see all kinds of, there's stuff I want to do too. Like I've seen like some women are providing for the guy. I think that's crazy. Or like 50-50. I don't necessarily agree with, but I don't know. Like I think I look at my past relationships just being transparent. Like probably it's like 80-20, 90-10, and maybe even that's too much, but I don't know. It's like, it's hard for me to think like, if they're not contributing in that way, I feel like I need something of equal value. And sometimes I feel like the value is not equal. But again, that might just be my past shit. And that's why we're discussing it. But I'm just like, I'm just curious your thoughts on it.
Yeah. So I was talking to one of my really good guy friends about this. He makes like $3 million a month.
Jesus.
And what he said was, I would never want my future wife to work because even if she does work, what's the most that she can make realistically? $300K a year. Right? Like, obviously there's exceptions, but like the majority of women, if they were working full-time jobs, like as a lawyer, whatever, $300K a year. And he says, but then she's now bringing in $300K worth of stress and masculine energy into our relationship just to provide 1% of what I can provide financially. So the way he put it was like, I would much rather she brings the non-tangible values to our relationship. Like being supportive, maybe keeping me in check when I'm about to make a bad business decision, maybe like just recharging me from business, than for her to bring in that like amount of income. But then,
what's your plan per se? Like if you meet someone, like, do you still want to run your business, or are you hoping like you get to a point you don't have to? I don't know if that's too personal, Lenders.
I think I will always be doing something that keeps me like stimulated.
Yeah.
I'll also always be running a business. I mean, I say this now, but my goal is to keep running my business, maybe work a few hours a day, but do it out of like pure creativity and because I love it and not because I have to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Because at the same time, of course, like I also want to make my own money too and continue to make my own money, even if my man like gives me a crazy allowance a month, right? So that, let's say like I can treat him on his birthday, do like special things for him here and there.
Yeah, I think for me, it's like growth too. Like, I don't know. I just don't think I care about that much, but it's like, I want to feel like if I'm reading a bunch of books and I'm going to all these seminars, I'm like building businesses, and then I feel like my woman is like not, I feel like, then I just feel like I'm not growing together, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I speak to like a lot of men about this, and the common theme I find just tends to be like, she doesn't have to make a lot of money or even any money. She just has to have a certain zest for life or like passion that she's working towards.
Yeah.
So even if she's trying to start this charity that like breaks even a month, they're like, that to me is worth it because you can see that she's working towards something that she really loves.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you do? What would your advice be? If a guy's with a girl and she just kind of seems like very complacent, she's not really pushing, and he's like, yeah, it's fine that you don't want to like work, but you're not really like doing anything else. Have you seen that before?
I think it's quite common in Dubai, but of course the dating culture is like very different here, where on the extreme end of the spectrum, the girl's value is being like beautiful, right? And her personality can just be like bare minimum. But I'd say if a man is ever in that position, I would try to just encourage the woman instead of nagging and making her feel bad about it. Same with if the opposite was true. But my real advice would just be like, know how to spot the red flags and don't get in that position in the first place. Because you can normally spot it really on, right? In the talking stage.
Yeah. I guess people change over time. you know, and like I used to never understand divorces. I guess I still don't to a degree, but I think like, you know, 6 years down the road, you could be completely different than you are now. And I think that's the hard part is you don't know, like maybe someone's like this way now, but now later they're not. And you can't really control what people do. Anyways, I just think deeply about this stuff. So.
Oh, yeah. Because I mean, reflecting on it now, I did get a bit like that in my previous relationship where I was like fully provided for. Now, at that time, I still would like occasionally, obviously, I was still running my business and I would still like buy things with my own money, even though I didn't have to. But I did find myself getting kind of lazy or like really doing the bare minimum in life. So I would say if a guy and girl were ever in that position, as the guy, I would try to just be supportive, be like, hey, I would love, you know, I'd love to help you like figure out your next move or what you'd love to do.
So kind of try to help her with it versus like antagonizing her. If that
exactly.
Makes sense.
But then also there's like only so much you can do.
Would the move be like, don't get with that person?
Yeah, I'd say if it's non-negotiable, then just spot the red flags early. Like if you ask someone about like their passions and hobbies and they're like, oh, not much, I just like Netflix. But, you know, that's already a red flag.
Yeah. Have you ever seen situations, and then we'll try to move on, sorry, but have you ever seen situations where, like, you know, let's say a girl, super business driven, running the business, meets a guy, and then she's like, yeah, I just want to stay home and like cook and clean, which, again, that's not bad. I'm not saying it from a bad way, but it's like very different growth-oriented goals. But you're already like, let's say you're already deep in the relationship. And so there's a guy, like, what would you say to the guy? It's like let's say you're 4 or 5 years deep in it. She kind of like shifting gears. You know, it's like you can leave the relationship, sure, but you're 5 years deep. I know I'm giving you crazy hypotheticals here, but.
Oh, so you mean like if they got in a relationship and in the beginning she was really driven.
And then just over time, like 5 years in, she's like, yeah, I just want to shift gears. I just want to stay home. I just want to have kids, which isn't bad. It's just, I view it like I've seen situations like that where I'm like, yes, you're not really growth oriented anymore. You just kind of want to like coast.
I would just challenge that and say the idea of a woman wanting to like raise kids and be a good wife in a way that is still as valuable as a skill than building a business. And it does require certain growth. It's just very different.
Okay. So you view it as there's still growth. It is growth.
I view it as growth if she's making an effort to learn like how to be a good mom, how to raise the child right, how to support her husband, and still add value to the world somehow. It's just a different type of growth than making money and building a business. So I think it depends on like the attitude that the woman is approaching it at. If her core reason is like, oh, I can't be bothered, I'm lazy, then I don't think it's good. But if it's like, hey, you know, I'm getting older, my values have changed. I realize I'm a lot more like family oriented and traditional, and there's still growth in like that region. Then I would say it's not necessarily worse than building a business. It's just different.
Yeah, that's a good perspective. Anyways, that's why I'm asking you these questions, like get a different perspective. Okay. So what role does submission like play in, you know, modern dating, and how would you define it?
I think a lot of women have like a really negative association with the word submission. It's like very polarizing. It means you just give up your identity or let a guy make all the decisions and you don't get a voice. Like you're literally inferior to the man. I think a more healthy way to look at it was like you can make the decisions, but you choose not to because you get to turn your brain off and lean back and let the guy make you feel considered, but also hold the weight of making the decisions. So I think the most easy example would be like, let's say you're in a long-term relationship and you plan on traveling, right? Very masculine woman would be like, okay, well, let me come up with the itinerary. We have to book this flight. We have to go on this date. But then a woman who's more tapped into like her feminine and being okay with being led, she would give the man space to handle it so that she can show up in her most literally soft and relaxed.
Yeah, these are good points. Yeah, that's what I'm just reflecting on those because, yeah, maybe like it's always a mindset shift usually. So it just seems like, I think that's what I keep hearing over and over is like, you know, they need to be relaxed. If they're not relaxed, they're not really in their feminine energy because they're stressed out and stuff like that.
And it's also like, as a man, I would see it as like, if you have a woman that's very capable, but she's feminine around you, it's a sign you're doing something right. And it's almost like you have to see it as a responsibility and a privilege and something that you don't want to take advantage of. Because really feminine women, they have really good intuition. And so they can really feel like, is this man starting to make my nervous system like fired up and weird? If that's the case, then they'll just leave.
What do you look for in a man, and like what do you refuse to tolerate?
I refuse to tolerate. So, I think a lot of women, they'll talk just about like looks and money and height and things like that. But for me,
definitely height.
For like early dating, I refuse to tolerate a man who gives mixed signals. I used to see it as a way to try to win them over more. But the way I see it now is if a man's giving me mixed signals, he's less than 100% interested. And so I would rather find someone else who's super clear.
What would give me an example of a mixed signal?
Like, let's say he doesn't text you for days and then he says something, but it's sweet. Or like when the actions and words aren't aligned. Or even when he'll say things like, oh, let's just go with the flow. Or, oh, I'm not looking for, I like how things are, so I prefer to just flow. For me, that's guy code for like, I don't want a relationship.
Interesting. Okay. Do you believe a woman can have it all? So like business, love, family, freedom? Or do you think there's like a trade-off? Like, it's like, hey, if you want a family, you probably can't have this.
I believe that a woman can have it all, yes. But I think that business, like, it depends on the definition of business. So I think a woman can't probably have like a super masculine man and a huge, huge business that brings loads of stress to her life and be the best mother possible. But I think there's definitely scenarios where a woman can make her own money and be in a really happy relationship. And it comes down to what you said about high standards, right? Like with building a team. If you believe that it's possible, then you're just not going to settle for less. Same with if you're building a team and someone says, oh, well, your standards for team members are too high, you're going to lower your standards. And it's just excuse for like poor team members.
Shifting more to like your content, I'd say like you're not afraid to post controversial things online. So what's your philosophy on triggering people?
Triggering people is not about talking down at your audience or swearing a lot or even being mean to your audience, right? I think a lot of people think that being controversial is about being rude to your audience, like Andrew Tate style. But the way I see it, being controversial is just having a belief that is very black and white that challenges the way people think. And then before you add context, it shocks people. So like, let's say I said something like, oh, the biggest red flag in a man is if he invests in property more than he invests in Bitcoin. I'm not swearing at my audience. I'm not talking down at people. But that thought alone is enough to trigger people and really challenge their way of thinking.
What's the hardest part about being so visible, like online, you think?
I have this fear. I've never shared this like on a podcast or anything, but I always have this fear that one day I'll wake up and look at my phone and it's really irrational. I have this fear that like I'm going to be in an article that just completely misrepresents me, or someone's going to like post about some really bad thing that I didn't even do. Like it goes viral. Just fear of, I guess, being exposed, even though I have nothing to be exposed about.
I feel like a few years ago you had something like that, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's probably where it comes from.
Yeah, that's true. A few years ago, I had this article that...
I think it was like completely different than what you thought it was going to be.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah.
Like you got interviewed and it was like basically the opposite of what you thought you were interviewed for.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense.
It's also sometimes you see like random negative comments and it can be the most random stuff like, oh, your left eyebrow looks weird. And it's like, you see those comments. I try not to look at my comments, but it still gets to you sometimes.
Yeah, of course. I think,
it's easy.
I think that's the hardest part of social media is like if you post something and it goes viral or you're posting and you just get a lot of like followers or fans or whatever, like, yeah. Because people always have something to say. And a lot of times it's more about them than it is you. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's hard not to take it personally, even if it's like something small, I think. So,
exactly.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really I've never really understood people who do that because I would never do that, but it happens a lot. Moving into kind of final questions, like what does freedom mean to you now that, compared to when you first started? So maybe when you started business to where you are now.
When I started, I think freedom was the laptop lifestyle, not having a boss, being able to afford a plane ticket, business class, wherever. Just like all the things to do with money. But for me now, it's still that to a degree, but it's more so like I wake up and I actually love my life. Like there's not a day now where I don't think about how grateful I am.
What do you think makes you feel so grateful? Like, meaning, like you obviously feel gratitude, but like, like what do you think helps you do that? Is it just a reminder? Or is it like you're proud of everything you're doing, or?
Have you heard of Joe Dispenza?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So after my breakup a few years ago, I realized I was really, really negative. So I listened to all his podcasts. And what he said was like, you literally have to train your brain to look for those, not positive thinking, because that's like very cliche, but you have to train yourself to be grateful. So now, I mean, I speak to my market like every single day, right? There's not a day goes by where I think like, that could have been me still in 9 to 5, still like financially struggling if I didn't make the decisions that I made like 6-7 years ago. So I see it and I feel it in the really small daily parts of life. Like I go to my gym, I look at the view. It's like on the 30th floor, you get the bird view. And I just feel a sense of gratitude in my body. Where it's like when I'm on a beach club on a random Tuesday and I'm lying in the sun, I'm always thinking it could be worse. I could be in an office hating my life.
Yeah, for me, I feel like I feel grateful when I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. Like I, like not like you're written down this, but like acting in a way that makes me proud.
Yeah.
That's when I seem to feel more grateful for life, when I'm like doing things. I feel like I'm just doing things like that I should be doing versus doing things that like maybe I want to do but shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. Even when I have problems, I'm like, oh, this is so annoying. And then my second thought was, wait, I should feel privileged that I have this problem.
Yeah.
Like my biggest problem is like something going wrong in business. Yeah. This is a problem that I would die to have like 6 years ago.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, I think, is, you go to like less privileged places. Like I went to Kenya, very unprivileged, and they're very happy, but it's also like ignorance is bliss, right? And so I think as you become quote unquote less ignorant, or you have more opportunities and you can go out in the world, it's very easy not to be grateful because there's so many things you can do or so many things you can buy, etc. I think it's harder the more you have to like stay grateful because it's just like there's so much you can do. Like, like I just traveled to Dubai, went first class, and like, I don't know, there's a million things I can do. And so I think that's where some of it comes from, is there's so much out there. You're like, oh yeah, like, I did that, but I could have done this, versus, someone who lives in Africa in like a hut. Like,
yeah. And, going back to your question, I think a huge thing is living in Dubai because the wealth gap is so big.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's huge. And it's like I look out my window and I see construction workers working in this heat. Yeah. Or it's like Uber drivers.
Why is that specifically? Is it because, like, why is that there's such a disparity?
I mean, I don't want to speak too much to it because I don't think I'm super qualified to answer the question, but I think in Dubai there's like so much wealth from oil and also expats, and then at the same time there's a lot of people from poorer countries that come here to make money so that they can send money back to their country. So it's like, in this heat, for example, we'll see like Uber drivers working like 10 hours a day and they make like 1,000 dirhams a month, which is like $400, $300. That's crazy.
Okay, so wrapping up, moving into what I call lightning round, just like kind of quick questions. What's one book every woman should read?
Extreme Ownership.
Thought you might say that. Most powerful feminine quality?
The ability to let someone else lead while still knowing that you're capable.
What's one luxury that you would never give up? Like you have to have it.
Business class. Oh, no. I'd say designer handbags.
Designer handbags. What's one belief you'll never compromise on?
These lightning rounds are really making me think.
Yeah.
I will never settle for a relationship when I think the man is just settling for me or he's anything less than 100% in love and obsessed with me only. regardless of his lifestyle or like what he provides
That's good.
materialistically.
Yeah, that's good. So, yeah, it'd probably be hard to do, especially that like a good lifestyle. It's super hard. Well, Hannah, it's been awesome having you on. Like, super good seeing you. It's like I wish people could like see my brain, like what I saw you like 2 years ago to like right now. It's like very different in a good way, and you seem really happy. So I'm really happy you came on. If people want to connect with you, work with you, see your content, where can they find you?
I'm mostly on Instagram and TikTok. My handle is @realhannahchan.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.